Housewarming Evil by tortfeasor. Chapter 1. The End of Harmony. Trapped inside their last desperate refuge, the leaders of the three pony tribes glared at one another in unbounded hostility. The lines on the cave floor served to separate them, just like the walls in their hearts. Finally, the tension came to a boil. "I claim this rock for Pegasopolis!" Commander Hurricane rolled the sole inhabitant of the cave besides the ponies deep into what little dirt composed the last remains of the once proud country. "Unhand our rock this instant, you scoundrel!" Princess Platinum gestured imperiously, as befitted one of her exalted station, from the dirt and ice forming entirely the still, graceful country of Unicorpia. Not even one of them noticed as Chancellor Puddinghead left for the far end of the earth to steal their prize.
"Oh, look! You found my rock! I've been looking for it everywhere!"
"Hey, you invaded our territory!" Commander Hurricane pointed a threatening hoof.
"Finders keepers, losers sweepers!"
Kane replied in a sing-song manner only one completely confident of victory would dare use. "That's the last straw!" Commander Hurricane put a hoof literally and figuratively over the line. "Give me back my rock!" Princess Platinum's horn began to glow with the magic that made the unicorns believe themselves to be superior to other pony tribes.
"You lost it, I found it!"
Chancellor Puddinghead picked up the rock with a victorious smirk. "We're prepared to lose it!" Commander Hurricane dove at the Earth Pony, who dared set hoof in Pegasopolis. At that same moment, Princess Platinum yanked the rock with her magic. Chancellor Puddinghead, however, managed to hang on with her teeth and was dragged out of the clear of the dive. The pull continued until Chancellor Puddinghead's head met the cave wall with an audible thump. As he dropped her prize and staggered away, the rock lifted back into the air.
"It's mine!"
Princess Platinum cried in triumph as the rock floated towards her, surrounded by the glow of her magic. "That rock belongs to Pegasopolis!" Princess Platinum only had a moment to savor her victory before an irate Commander Hurricane tackled her from the side. The leaders of Unicorpia and Pegasopolis began to tussle. They carried them across the three stricken nations in turn. All three assailants pressed themselves against the walls of the cave in an effort to avoid being caught up in the war that their leaders had begun over a rock. Meanwhile, Chancellor Puddinghead had recovered from her run-in with the cave wall and stealthily approached the rock once more. Her opposites struggled, carried her into their view, just as she grabbed her prize and prepared to make good her escape. Neither Princess Platinum nor Commander Hurricane were about to let Chancellor Puddinghead so triumphantly abscond with their prize. "Unhand my rock!" Princess Platinum pulled with magic once more. The leader of Unicornia learned from her past mistake. That slowly Earth Pony had the most tenacious grip. Deciding that the time for subtlety was past, Princess Platinum yanked the rock as hard as her magic would allow. Out of control, the rock sped across the cave, taking one of Chancellor Puddinghead's teeth with it, straight into Smart Cookie's head. Earth ponies had been renowned for their physical toughness. Working the fields from sunup to sundown to bring food to the tribes was physically trying under the best of circumstances. No Earth pony, though, was tough enough to survive a rock hitting their skull straight on with the full force of a unicorn's magic behind it. "Smart Cookie!" The Visor ponies were all shocked into violence. Sir Puddinghead had just lost a dear friend. "You call us barbarians!" Commander Hurricane punched Princess Platinum across the jaw with a hoof trained since birth to excel at pony-on-pony violence. "Ruffian! How dare you assault the daughter of the Unicorn King!" Princess Platinum growled as she wiped the trail of her blood from her spit lip. "I'll show you barbarians what you're dealing with!" A stalactite directly above Commander Hurricane began to crack and groan as the enraged leader of the unicorns got fallen on her head. Private Pansy's motion carried her forward, so the stalactite hit just between her wings. Clover the Clever, who had now removed herself from the chaos around her, raced forward and threw the stalactite of Private Pansy into the wall. She turned Private Pansy on her side and saw relief. Her sides were still rising. Private Pansy's eyes snapped open.
"I can't feel my wings! I can't feel my wings! Oh, goodness! I can't feel my wings!"
Private Pansy began to hyperventilate in panic as Clover the Clever tried in vain to calm her down. Corvo Silver's side as a recovered Commander Hurricane dashed to her subordinate's side. This brought her attention back to Princess Platinum, just in time to see Chancellor Puddinghead, clearly mad with grief, lunging towards her with the rock that had proven the downfall of all three tribes. Shouting and worrying that would accomplish nothing, Princess Platinum would merely die turning her head. Desperate, Clover the Clever hit Chancellor Puddinghead with a wall of magical force. Nerf Pony normally will survive such an attack, none the worse for wear. However, in the close confines of the cave, such an attack sent Chancellor Puddinghead into the cave wall at high speeds. Even that probably wouldn't have done the trick by itself, for a neck hitting and snapping on the rise of a cave served to end the life of Chancellor Puddinghead.
Oh no!
Clover the Clever muttered over and over again.
What have I done? I didn't mean to. She was going to. What have I come?
You
What?
came in a strangling response he hadn't been expecting. You beat us. Clover the Clever turned to see Commander Hurricane cradling a weeping Private Pansy. We give. You're on top. Do whatever you want with me. Just spare the rest of my ponies. I accept your service. Clover could tell that something was off of Princess Platinum. The life and fire that blazed so fiercely in her friend, but dismissed by the terrible few minutes that had gone by.
You fought well.
Someone said Princess Platinum's voice sounded mature. Clover merely thought it sounded dead.
And you showed loyalty to your fellows. New Unicornia would have trouble for some time until the Earth Ponies learned their place at the bottom of society. We would have you and yours be our sword and shield against our lessers.
Clover had known Princess Platinum for years, and all that time she had never once heard her friend use the royal we. The pain on Princess Platinum's face was clear as day, though. Clover wouldn't have been surprised one bit to find out that her friend was trying to hide the pain behind the impersonal tone she was using.
Clover the Clever?
The pony in Preston nearly didn't respond to the summons. What was coming out of her friend's mouth was almost unrecognizable.
Yes, Your Highness?
Her own voice sounded hollow in her ears. Clearly she hadn't escaped from this terrible cave without her own scars.
Me? No. I need you to do more for New Unicornia than you've already done. This winter must be ended now that the three tribes have united. Have you any ideas? I think so. My mentor, Starscroll the Bearded, taught me about creatures called Wendigos. They're winter spirits that feed off fighting and hatred. The more hate the spirit feeds, the colder things become. I think they're behind the storms that have driven us from our homes. Then this is all doing.
Clover the Clever had no trouble discerning the Princess Platinum's meant her doing.
A peaceful end to this storm died in this cave, just as Chancellor Puddinghead. Is there any way to end the suffering of ponies everywhere? Maybe.
Clover felt unclean even before words left her mouth.
Live energy of a pony makes for very potent magical energy. It won't end the winter, not long a long stretch. But I think we can use the lives we took to partially shield the Wendigos to give us enough time each year to at least bring in sufficient crops to live on.
Princess Platinum paused upon her Clover's words. The only sound in the otherwise silent cave was the soft crying coming from the now fightless Private Pansy.
Do it,
came the soft response. Then Princess Platinum watched close enough to Clover the Clever for her to see the tears glaring in her friend's eyes.
Clover? I'm sorry.
Twilight Sparkle was the youngest court sorceress in New Unicornia since Clover the Clever herself. Many on the Royal Council expected miracles from her on account of that fact. She felt she was delivering one of them not by smashing their chairs over their skulls. It had been a hard winter, all 8 months of it, and the common ponies were relentless. Reports coming in from the Pegasus guard stations in the lower city were disturbing to say the least. The Earth ponies in the part of Platinum City, derisively called Dirtville, were on the verge of rioting. This latest crackdown on Earth ponies without the papers to be in Platinum City would very likely send them over the edge. If the council could bring itself to wait even a single week more, most of the ponies would begin returning to the countryside to work on farms during the short spring and summer. But no, the Chancellor, Lord Sombra, has had to insist on making the problem worse. Not that he or his lackeys had put it like that. He thought the Earth ponies little better than slaves, and were convinced that the day they gave Earth ponies an inch would be followed a week later by the end of unicorn domination in New Unicornia. Twilight failed to hold in a snort of laughter at the ridiculousness of that thought. As Sombra, Jet Set, Upper Crust, and others could see the conditions in Dirtville,
They wouldn't fear the loss of the unicorn domination for another 100 years. Of course, the conditions in the worst part of Dirtville were paradise compared to the rumors about Sombra's penal colonies. Twilight knew only enough about those horrible places to know that she wouldn't risk her worst enemy to be in one, and she feared a number of her ponies whose only crime was trying to get out of the cold were about to wind up into those dark holes rather than working on farms bringing in food for the nests of new unicornia. Twilight Sparkle was hardly one of these strange unicorns who believed in Prentice's Platinum and Clover the Clever, and made a terrible mistake with the segregation of society, placing unicorns and Pegasi on top of Earth ponies. She was, after all, a product of the society that had born and raised her. On the other hoof, she knew how short the growing season was in New Unicornia, and how dearly the farms needed every Earth pony hoof and back they could get. Now Sombra was planning to remove dozens, if not hundreds of Earth ponies from that important rung of society. All that added up to another bad winter starting in 4 more months' time. That would likely mean riots, which would mean more Earth ponies sent out to those abominable penal colonies. It would probably lead to starvation among the unicorn poor, not to mention the Pegasi of luckless Earth ponies. Not that Sombra would care. He sat there in the darkest corner of whatever room he was in, darkening the shadows around him, and hardly ever speaking a single growling word. His dark and mysterious silence had, however, succeeded in silencing Princess Rarity from nearly all levels of power. With her father ill, Rarity would have complete power over as regent over New Unicornia. Somehow, Sombra had managed to convince enough ponies to flat out lie that things were not nearly as bad as they seemed, and left him with most of the power of the palace. Twilight could understand and still completely detest his actions. The first thing her friend would do upon becoming regent would be to strip Sombra and his followers of all power, followed by finding the point in New Unicornia farthest from Platinum City and exiling them there. Still in a foul mood, Twilight finally arrived at her room. The court sorceress had a fair amount of space to herself. Most of that space, though, was taken up with the dietitious of her various duties. Twilight's actual rooms consisted of a bedroom that doubled as her study, a sitting room, and a small bathroom. Just finally alone, she allowed herself to sink into her lone couch with an exhausted sigh. Was it too much to ask to be able to walk away from one meeting of the Royal Council without a pounding headache or at the latest draconian scheme Sombra or one of his lackeys had put forth? The answer was obviously yes, or else she would have had to ask that question. Just because the world hated her, Twilight, in its moment of rest, was really shattered by the rude tapping on the door. Glaring at the foul piece of wood that had failed to keep her privacy, Twilight dragged herself to her hose, and somehow made her way to the door.
Good evening, Lady Sparkle. I take it the meeting of the council didn't go well?
Just Twilight, Soren. My mom is Lady. I'm just Twilight. However foul a mood Twilight was in, she would never take it out on one of Rarity's guards. Not only were each of them very skilled in deadly fires, but they were among the hopeful opponents Twilight could count on in the palace. And no. Twilight would rather not revisit that hour ever again. The meeting did not go well. His grand, high, all-powerful, indefinitely majestic son that our world revolves around, Lordship, Sombra, listened to her highness's suggestions when I put them forth. Then he ordered the Pegasus guards to move into Dirtville this evening.
And I'll take it you'll be out there?
Of course. Twilight was already floating a heavy cloak towards her that would cover both her horn and keep the cold away. If I could catch Sombra having Earth ponies who have their papers in order deported, I could rub his face in it. I'll never convince the likes of Blue Blood, Jet Set, or Upper Crust, but enough council members only follow Sombra because he has momentum. Get a few of those shaky supporters scared, and they'll come running to Rarity.
Spitfire and I will wait for you at the gates, Soren sighed. Try not to get killed, kidnapped, or whatever angry Earth ponies do to unicorn nobles out there when they're rioting. They make me clean out your rooms. I don't want to have to move all that heavy stuff.
Complain, complain, complain. Twilight laughed as she walked out the door. And here I was going to bring you back a pie for your concern. Let the decoration serve as a lesson that whining is not tolerated in Rarity's personal guards. Soren's cries of sorrow were far too over the top for Twilight to even begin to take seriously.
I'm serious, Soren stopped her at the gate. It's dangerous out there. The Earth ponies in Dirtville aren't just going to riot. They're near outright revolting. If they find out just who you are, they won't care about what happens next. They'll string you up.
I know, Twilight said, but I don't have any choice. I can't ask anyone else to stick their neck out for me like this. I have to see firsthand what Sombra is doing to the Earth ponies. And the price of that is that I get myself into a little danger. Well, I can have an accident easily enough here in the castle.
We'd all die before we let Sombra or Scoons touch one hair on your mane.
That's what I'm afraid of. You, Spitfire, and the others need to watch your own backs as much as you watch mine or Rarity's.
Twilight flipped the hood of her cloak over her horn and set off.
Close to the palace, one would never expect there was any unrest in the city.
In fact, through the whole district of the city, composing of the residences of noble and wealthy unicorns, business went on as usual. Twilight walked down the broad street tree-lined avenues. The trees were evergreens, for obvious reasons, with large, well-cared-for buildings on either side. Ponies and unicorns, of course, were already lighting the ornate crystal lamps that would keep the streets lit like day even during the long night. Twilight didn't even think there were so many crystal lamps, certainly not nearly as many as ornate lamps, where the unicorns lighting the lamps lived. Platinum City rested on the slopes of a great mountain. Since its founding, it had been laid out on a simple principle. The rich and powerful were literally on top of their so-called lessers. That meant Twilight's trip to Dirtville was a trip down to the social strata that made New Unicornia. Even the poorest unicorns lived among the wealthy Pegasi, and far above the earth ponies of all stripes. There wouldn't be much point to a society founded on the domination of unicorns otherwise. The buildings became smaller and far less decorated, but even unicorns, struggling to make ends meet, still had their first pick at the best building materials and crafts ponies. The city guards also invested much more time and energy in this part of the city than they ever would in the wealthiest dirt pony homes. That was not saying much, and while still unlit, there were at least enough crystal lamps to be more than a joke. The biggest city part was brutally simple. It was divided into military areas and not military areas. The function of the former was obvious. Keep the earth ponies down, make sure they knew resistance would prove suicidal at best. The latter was composed by the many secondary functions Pegasi played in society. Weather ponies were obvious, if occasionally futile fixture, but Pegasi also served as the best messengers across New Unicornia. The Pegasus and Unicorns part of Platinum City were not only metaphorically separated from the Earth Ponies. Between the lowest rungs of Pegasi and the least worst off Earth Ponies was a very literal wall. Unicorns and Pegasi passed freely back and forth. Earth Ponies returning to their homes likewise drew little notice. Those ascending the city were a different case. Hard-faced Pegasus and Unicorn guards closely checked the papers, and even gave foals and old mares thorough searching before reluctantly allowing them entry. Dirtville itself was not the whole Earth Pony part of the city, though if it kept growing, it would be far too many more years. Rather, it was the name where the poor among the already impoverished Earth Ponies resided. Also, where a great many Earth Ponies who worked on farms during the spring and summer came during the fall and winter. Their presence was technically illegal, but until Sombra had come into power, it had only been a law enforced when throwing the book at a pony. Dirtville was also on the edge of riots verging on revolt. Twilight hadn't made it far beyond the wall before the fact became abundantly clear. Squads of heavily armed Earth Pegasus guards moved with grim purpose down the narrow, filthy streets. Earth ponies were fortunate enough, if that was the word, to live here, moved with a nervous eye down towards Dirtville. A great many homes and shops were already closed, locked and darkened. Twilight didn't have to be one of the smartest unicorns alive to suspect that the rest would be following suit before long. As he did not know exactly where she was going, Twilight would have found her way by simply going the opposite direction of every pony besides herself and the Pegasus guards. She would have also known where she was by the unpaved streets that gave their villain's unflattering name. A few guards gave her the occasional glance. Most ponies, after all, wanted to go away from the concerning oncoming riot, and they had larger issues than a strange pony. Finally, amongst the literally unwashed masses, Twilight started trying to find out a way out a corner where she would watch the events unfold. Fortunately, no one had informed the angry Earth Ponies of their part in Twilight's plan. The riot she had been afraid of touched off long before she had found an appropriately hidden spot. What exactly touched off the riot, Twilight never knew. Once the riot got going, however, that particular bit of information went straight to the bottom of her list of priorities. Priority 1 had become survival. I just got a letter from White Fang. You have our support, Earth Ponies. We're sending in backup. Why does that scare me? Oh, another note. P.S. I'm not with them. Signed, Blake B. The Pegasus guards moved in with armor, spears, swords, axes, bows, and all of the other model implements of doing bodily harm to other ponies. The Earth Pony rioters seem to have found an astounding amount of rocks for a part of the city without paved streets. Briefly, Twilight wondered if depriving the Earth Ponies of just a weapon had been part of the reason Dirtville had never been paid over. If it was, it had failed. It failed miserably. Earth Ponies also had a motley set, yet obviously dangerous assortment of cobbled-together weapons and household implements that would be quite dangerous in the right hands. Twilight had never been in battle, but the screams, blood, chaos, and other overwhelming stench of fear made her hope quite vividly that she never became involved in one. Also, it became abundantly clear that the roundup Twilight had been planning to stalk wouldn't be happening until enough Earth Ponies had been killed to count the others. As she stuck around too long, she was liable to wind up killed into collateral damage. Running out into the Major War was not an option, and that left running back into the maze of alleys and twisting streets that made up Dirtville. Hopefully, any ponies who saw her would assume that she was exactly what she appeared to be, a pony fleeing from the riots. Twilight never saw the rock to hit her from behind. She supposed it most likely came from a unicorn guard, tossing a projectile into a presumably empty alley. Whatever the cause, the impact staggered her, forced her to collapse in a snowbank that certainly would have been cleared away into Unicorn or Pegasus parts of Platinum City. Dazed and rapidly blacking out, Twilight rolled over just in time to see a pony approaching her. She could only muster a feeble effort to pull her back over her horn as she saw the other pony gasp in recognition of what she was. As Costas faded, Twilight Sparkle wondered just how pathetic Soren's last words were going to prove.